buyers, this is your buy signal. Here are some challenges that we are aware of in this market. Next to the spring, the fall market is absolutely the best time to sell. Remember, your asking price is not the selling price. It is part of the strategy intended to get buyers excited about seeing your property and making competitive offers. Welcome to this week's look at the state of the New York City real estate market, where I take a look at the luxury market, the Manhattan market, and the Brooklyn market. I do it because I want you to be informed. It never hurts when you're a consumer to be informed. Welcome to this week's look at the state of the New York City real estate market. This is for the week of August 14th to the 20th. We're going to get started, as we always do, with the luxury market. Then we're going to move to the Manhattan market, then the Brooklyn market. Then I'm going to sum it all up for you and give you my thoughts and takeaways. It's a very challenging market right now. Lots of things to know if you are either a buyer or a seller, or if you're just curious about what goes on here. Okay, we're going to get started with the luxury market. There were 19 contracts signed for properties that were priced at $4 million and above. There were 6 of those contracts were in our trophy property category. That means they were priced at $10 million and above. 14 were condos, 4 were co-ops, and 1 was a very special townhouse. 11 of those properties were uptown, 8 were downtown. We're going to talk in a moment about that very special townhouse that went into contract. But before we do, we're going to start with the number 1 contract that was signed last week in the luxury market. It was Penthouse 32A at 500 West 18th Street. It was asking $25 million. It was reduced from $28 million when it was first launched in 2018. This, as you might recall, because in other weeks, there have been other units in that building that have taken the number 1 spot. There are 2 buildings that make up this property, a hotel and a residential building. The amenities are in the hotel. This particular apartment has almost 5,700 square feet. It includes 5 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms. It has a 48-foot great room, a large kitchen, a living room that opens up onto an almost 240 square foot loggia. The amenities in the hotel include a fitness center, a 75-foot lap pool, spa treatment rooms, golf simulator, children's playroom, private dining room, games lounge, and a garage. The services are offered, as I said, in the hotel, which is part of this project and is adjacent to the building. The number 2 contract was 63B at 432 Park Avenue. It was asking $24.5 million. It was reduced from $28 million when it was listed in February 2022. This is a corner unit, has a little over 4,000 square feet. It includes 3 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, features 12.5-foot ceilings, 10 by 10 windows that showcase Central Park, New York City, and river views. Seller paid $24,582,962 in March of 2016. We're seeing a fair amount of this. People that have bought these properties and are selling them basically for what they paid for them. Sometimes they're selling them for less than what they paid for them. Sometimes this happens, right? Like you buy in one market, you pay less or you pay more for it than you end up selling for in a different market. There's never really a guarantee about what market you buy in versus what market you sell in. It happens, but I assume that they got a lot of enjoyment out of this property. 432 Park is 96 stories high. It is a concrete and glass building. It is quite a notable building. You can see it pretty much from anywhere in New York City. The amenities include a fitness center, a 75-foot swimming pool, private dining room, parking, a garden, and a children's playroom. Okay, now on to the only townhouse that went into contract last week was a very special townhouse, in part because it was owned by the late and great Stephen Sondheim, one of my absolute all-time favorite Broadway composers. This house was listed in July, so not that long ago. It was asking $7 million. Sondheim purchased this home in 1960 with the proceeds from his hit musical Gypsy. Sondheim won 8 Tony Awards and a Pulitzer Prize in 1984 for Sunday in the Park with George. The house is quite spectacular. It is in a historic district, Turtle Bay Gardens. Turtle Bay Gardens is a collection of 20 row houses in the Turtle Bay neighborhood of New York City. There are 11 houses on the south side of 49th Street and 9 on the north side of 48th Street. This is between 2nd and 3rd Avenues. This group of townhouses in this little enclave have had many, many celebrity residents, including quite a number of actors: Katharine Hepburn, Ruth Gordon, June Havoc, Ricardo Montalban, Tyrone Power, also writer-director Garson Kanin, jurist Learned Hand, conductor Leopold Stokowski, editor Maxwell Perkins, publisher Henry Luce, journalist Dorothy Thompson, writer-journalist E.B. White, and later occupants include, of course, Stephen Sondheim, as well as the actress Mary Kate Olsen. This is a truly, truly special home, not only because of the home itself and its place in historic residences in New York City, but truly also because of its provenance, because of its longtime owner, Stephen Sondheim. Congratulations to the new buyers. Let's move on to the stats for last week. The total weekly asking price sales volume for the luxury market was 167,584,000. The average asking price, 8,820,211. The median asking price, 5,750,000. Average discount from original ask to last asking price, 9%. Average days on the market, 657. That's it for the luxury market for last week. Now we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at what happened in Manhattan, and then we're going to take a look at what happened in Brooklyn. Then I'm going to sum it all up for you, give you my thoughts and takeaways. As always, if you have any questions at all, please post those below. In Manhattan, we're continuing to see the inventory falling. The inventory is tight. It is a part of this seasonal slowdown. We're seeing that also in the demand as well. Let's take a look at what happened for the week. We see 182 properties for the week. Last week, that is down almost 7%. Contracts signed down a little bit, 180, down a little over 1%. Off market, 165, also down a little over 9%. If we take a look at the 1 month view, we see the supply is down a little over 16%. 903. Contracts signed down a little over 6%. 823. Off market down about 1%. 806. The Market Pulse chart is showing this to be a seller's market. As I've been saying, it tells some, but not all of this story. Basically, what we're seeing is that the supply is falling faster than the demand. See that by the Liquidity Pace chart, 823 contracts signed over this last 30 days. That is showing a decline in contract activity. We can see as we're looking at the end of this chart that the liquidity is moving down. We're definitely, in this seasonal slowdown in terms of contract activity. Nothing huge, certainly holding steadier than the supply. If we look at the supply chart, we see it continues to fall. The demand ticked down slightly, but is holding fairly steady. Perhaps one could even say moving sideways. The new listings dropped again. They are at their lowest level in the last several years. Number of contracts signed also kind of moving sideways. If we look at the liquidity chart, this is likely headed towards a lower level as things quiet down over the next several weeks before the fall market kicks in. The climate index is so great because as liquidity is facing a challenging market, this is not really a surprise. It suggests longer days on the market, perhaps higher negotiability during this period. We're going to get into the details of this as I give you my thoughts and my takeaways and some thoughts for sellers and for buyers about how to navigate this market. We're going to move on now, though, to Brooklyn. I'm going to give you my thoughts about that. Brooklyn is a little different than Manhattan in terms of where it is at as a market. Be sure to stick around so you can get the benefit of my recap. If you have any thoughts and questions, please post those below. As with Manhattan, we see a decline in the supply in Brooklyn. 126 for last week came on the market. That is down a little over 18%. Contract signed 125. Interesting on that one, that jumped a little bit, up almost 8%. Off-market properties popped up almost 45%, 84 properties. Wow, looks like sellers in Brooklyn have decided to retreat a little bit in terms of keeping their properties on the market. If we take a look at this 1 month supply, we see that is down a little over 2%, 702 properties for the month, down a little over 2%, 589 contracts signed, that's down almost 6%. Off market, 324, up 1.6%. Nothing huge on that. Seems like last week was kind of the big bump in off market. Could be you have sellers who decided these next few weeks are going to be pretty quiet, so they're just going to pull their properties off the market for the next few weeks. If we take a look at Brooklyn, like we saw in Manhattan, we see that the market pulse is showing this to be a seller's market. This is probably, if you had to really analyze the data on this, which is what we're doing, this is a little more true in Brooklyn because we have a little more demand and we have not very much supply, just as with Manhattan. The liquidity pace chart, this 30-day moving window, 589, we also see that this is tapering off. Again, kind of a seasonal slowdown. It is, though, we get a little more into the details of it, we do see that Brooklyn is a little bit of a stronger market. So let's get into the supply chart. Supply continuing to fade as summer wears on. The demand, however, is accelerating into the summer. This is unusual for this time of year. The new listings remain at a low, which is not helping. If you are a seller, you really might want to think about either keeping your property on the market, adjusting your price, or perhaps even thinking about putting your property on the market. If we look at the contract signed, we see the deal volume moving a little bit sideways. We see it still being stronger than in Manhattan. So Brooklyn seems to be a stronger market, faring better. The buyers seem to be stickier this summer and more engaged. If we look at the Brooklyn market liquidity, it is moving sideways. The deal volume is remaining in neutral territory. It is not at its peak level. However, it hints at the Brooklyn market bringing in some buy-side momentum into the fall season. This Brooklyn listing climate index portends a little better for sellers. However, there aren't a lot of sellers in Brooklyn right now. If you are someone who is thinking about selling and you have a property in Brooklyn, you really may want to think about, because you definitely have a lot of buyers who are looking to buy property and they are getting frustrated because they don't have a lot of inventory. Okay, that is it for Brooklyn. We're going to move on now to sum up what happened last week. We saw in the luxury market 19 contracts were signed in the luxury market. That is for properties that are priced at 4 million and above. That is two more than the previous week. Six of those were priced at 10 million and above. There were 14 condos, 4 co-ops, and that one very, very special townhouse. 11 of those properties were uptown, 8 were downtown. In terms of the overall markets, in Manhattan, we saw that the supply is tight. It's continuing to fall. In Brooklyn, we saw also tight, not perhaps falling as fast as Manhattan, although for sure there is a shortage. In terms of demand, the Manhattan market, we see a seasonal slowdown. It is holding fairly steady. Brooklyn, we see that seasonal slowdown. However, more signs of life, perhaps kind of moving sideways, even showing signs of strength. If we look at the climate index, meaning what kind of market is this to sell into? Manhattan, definitely a more challenging market for sellers. Talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Brooklyn, it's a more neutral market. If anything, if you had to sort of say who is this favoring, it's probably a little bit more the sellers. So sellers, here's some things to be thinking about. Be sure, no matter which part of the market you are in, be sure that you are priced correctly. You will know if you are not. If in the first few weeks of being on the market, you are not getting the showings and the offers you want, you did not get it right. So you need to adjust your price. If you want to hold off because things are quiet for the next few weeks and you want to wait till you have more eyes on your property, then wait until after Labor Day. If not, then you need to adjust your asking price. Remember, your asking price is not the selling price. It is part of the strategy intended to get buyers excited about seeing your property and making competitive offers. Here are some challenges that we are aware of in this market. The buyers in this market are definitely favoring properties that are move-in ready, and they are definitely punishing those properties that need work. So if you have a property that needs work, you may find this market to be a lot more challenging in that way than other markets that we have seen. We are also seeing that buyers are favoring condos over co-ops. That just is what it is. If you are an owner of a property that it is not a condo and it needs some work, you may find that this is a very challenging market for you. And you may need to make more adjustments in order to attract your buyer. So now let's talk about the fall market. Next to the spring, the fall market is absolutely the best time to sell. The most contracts that are signed in the fall are signed in October and a little bit November. So you really need to be on the market if you're going to be either coming back onto the market or just listing by mid-September so that you give buyers a chance to see your property. You need to be on the market for a couple of weeks, make sure they see you, start making offers, get your deal done. This is not a long runway. This is not a spring market that has a lot more time involved. If in the first 2 weeks of being on the market in the fall, you do not see the activity that you want or need, be sure that you make your adjustment. Be aggressive in making your adjustment, 5%, 10%, an adjustment to your asking price so that you can get your deal done within those next 30 days before the market really quiets down again around the holidays. Buyers, this is your buy signal. Your window of maximum opportunity is really over these next few weeks. Inventory is kind of at its lowest. This is it for this season. You can expect more to come on in about 3 weeks after Labor Day when people start putting their properties on the market because they know there are buyers that are coming back into the market. If you're looking for leverage, look at those properties that have been on the market for quite a while, 120 days or more. That's where you're going to find likely the most negotiability. That is it for this week's look at the state of the New York City real estate market. As always, please post your questions below. I am always happy to answer your questions. Look, I've been doing this for next month, it'll be 23 years. I work with buyers and sellers and have done throughout my entire career. I work at all price points and I work all over the city. I want my clients to make great decisions. I know how much is riding on these decisions. For most of my clients, these properties represent often some of the largest pieces of their portfolios. So that's why I do this every week, because I want to be sure that people are informed, my clients, you, so that you can make great decisions. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. As always, I want to thank Urban Digs and the Olshan Luxury Market Report. The work that they do helps me to help you to make great decisions. I'll be back next week with the very latest news on what's happening in the New York City real estate market. In the meantime, take care.